Alright, hello and welcome to my next narrated battle. Now, I have to apologise to Zilla before we start this because this has been on my to-do list for a fair few weeks now, but with time restrictions and actually having a cold over the last couple of weeks, it's been a bit difficult to do. But now I have the chance, so let's go. He started with Electrode, which I had never played against ever, but had seen in a couple of underused matches I've watched. I kind of instinctively expect most electric types to have hidden power grass now, so I switch out to Blissey because it's the safest thing I've got, and it does indeed have hidden power grass, which limits me a bit. I can't go back to Swampert now unless I am confident that it's going to switch. It also is likely to have Focus Sash, so I Seismic Toss in the face of the taunt, which was a good move on my part. But I expect the threat of an Earthquake from Gliscor to be enough to force it away, so I go for an Agility here, but he's onto me, so I can't do that. And I switch back out to Swampert because again I expect him to save Electrode now by switching out of an Earthquake. But he doesn't. He hidden power grasses. He must think at this point Electrode is nothing more than death fodder. Quite rightly so as well. But I concluded that he pretty much won't have Explosion at this point. So I go out to Breloom to take hidden power grass, which although he thinks for a while, I kind of knew all along he would do that. And that gave me a chance to have Toxic Orb activate, and I expect him to taunt Breloom, so I Focus Punch in the face, which is pretty useful because it finally gets rid of Electrode, and that caused me a fair few problems early on. Possibly because I've not played it before, but the only bad side of this is that Focus Punch is my only attacking move, and since he has taunted me, I have to Focus Punch or switch. And he basically knows this because I play Breloom quite a lot, and he knows usually the sort of play I do is Subseed. So he brings in Venomoth, another Pokemon I've never played but watched being played. And Bug Buzz was the first thing. I expect it to be choice locked because most Venomoth are choice locked. So here I go to Gliscor expecting it to switch and I would get a free setup. Turns out I was completely wrong. It's not choice locked and it ends up sleep powdering my Gliscor, costing me another turn in order to use aromatherapy in a few shots later. That annoyed me a fair bit, but that's the way the game goes. He brings in Sceptile, which I knew was Subseed because he was excited to use this on my Snorlax before I paralyzed it in the previous game. Sorry about that. But I take my time in setting up. His Toxic missed, but given that I will Aromatherapy next turn, that's inconsequential. Stealth Rock goes up, which is pretty useful against Venomoth. And I Aromatherapy whilst he Leech Seeds so that I can set up the Gliscor. Now, he substitutes on the switch, which doesn't bother me whatsoever because I'll get rid of the sub as soon as I'm finished. And he Leech Seeds his Agility. And at this point I was thinking, well, I know Leech Seed is passed by a Baton pass, but surely if you pass it to a grass type, it won't affect the grass type because you can't use Leech Seed on a grass type. That was the idea. What actually happened, it seems that there's a bit of a glitch in the game, is that it actually still affects you, as you'll find out in a couple of minutes. Well, seconds. And he protects on the switch, which is no bother to me, but my Toxic Orb reactivates, but it turns out I'm affected by Leech Seed, which is a bit of a dent in the plans. You know, that's not really what Breloom wants. Breloom wants its Toxic Orb to be healing in every turn rather than it losing the health and just not getting anywhere. But at least it isn't losing health overall, which is what Zilla thought in these few moves which come up. Now, I don't know why he substituted there. Substitute would never work because of Focus Punch's negative priority, but it doesn't bother me. It makes it a good move on my part. He protects thinking that I'm going to Focus Punch again, but I actually substitute because I'm thinking there isn't anything he can do to me, so if he's going to switch, sub is the best general move. It also means he's not under a substitute protection, so I can Spore here. and I reckoned that was enough to force him out. But apparently not, so not only does my Leech Seed go to waste, but he gets lucky and wakes up first time, so he has to substitute as well as waking up. That irritated me a lot. But given the fact of I'm not losing health here, it really doesn't bother me. I have more than enough focus punches to outstall the sub-seed protect thing, and he cannot do anything to me. I've seen all 4 moves, and this is really just him thinking I'm losing health here. So I'll go for the focus punch as many times as I can until I break the sub. But he switches to Venomoth, which has got that cool 4 times resistance to fighting. Even with its fragile defenses, it still only takes around about 40% damage. From Breloom's big attack, that's impressive. I can Spore here, however, and I go to, but he makes a good move in that sense and goes to Honchkrow, which has Insomnia. The problem with that is that I have both +2 speed and I have a substitute, so Honchkrow really can't do much to me at all. And although it can break my sub, it will definitely not take Focus Punch lightly. It will be KO'd by this at least 1.5 times over, I would have thought. It might have good HP, but Honchkrow's defense is really not good. So he breaks a sub, but then takes Focus Punch straight to the face and dies. So Breloom is still perfectly on course to sweep the team. He goes now, where was it he went to? He went to Tyranitar because he worked out by now that I wasn't losing HP from Leech Seed thanks to Poison Heal. So he then brings in Sandstream to further impede me, and now I'm on a time limit. Looking at this move, I possibly should have done Focus Punch rather than Spore, but I was thinking if he was foolish enough to want to set up, he could very easily have set up in my face if I did Focus Punch, just by using a Choice Band attack on me. But he switches to Venomoth. This is why it would have been wiser to Focus Punch, because Venomoth would have died. But putting it to sleep is the next best thing, and it really isn't going to do too much more to me anymore. So I believed I had a free switch here, so I basically went to Gliscor to try and set somebody else up. It turns out I do have a free enough switch, and maybe the threat of Earthquake here finally got to him and he went out to Starmie as I agility. Now, I knew basically he was going to try and hit Breloom or Gliscor, or both together, super effective. So I go to Suicune, which resists both of Gliscor's weaknesses, and it turns out to be a pretty effective move because he does Ice Beam here. And that really does nothing at all to Suicune that I can't neglect. 50 damage, not even quite that. It's really nothing at all, especially when I have leftovers negating the Sandstream effect. I half expected him to Thunderbolt me here, but it didn't matter because I went for a Calm Mind so that I could sweep, and that's exactly what was needed. So he went out to Sceptile. I'm still wondering why he went out to Sceptile here. He must have been hoping beyond all hope that he could outspeed me even with my +2, but this is a fully offensive Suicune. There's no hope of anything outspeeding it now. So I get a crit with this Ice Beam, and it does not matter whatsoever. We did the calculations afterwards, and a +1 Ice Beam really just wrecked it completely, even max HP. So that was no bother at all. And he goes to Starmie, but we get disconnected as I try to Hidden Power Electric. So unfortunately it ends in that, but I was going to sweep anyhow, so whatever. It ended up at 6-4, but it would have been 6-0. Good game, Zilla. See you guys next time. Take care.